Good morning, everyone. Join us once again for our weekly broadcast. This is a joint broadcast from David Johnson here, CEO of Leo Crowdfunding, and my co-partner, co-broadcaster, co-friend, co-business associate, Mr. John Corey. So how are you this morning?
Don't overstretch there. You might be including too many things.
I was losing superlative there to describe the relationship. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning. I'm delighted to have Aisha Watson and Latoya McDonald on with us today as our special guest. So good morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. And looking forward to hearing from you on your investor journey as we go along. So we are right on time, so we're going to just keep going to maximize our minutes on the broadcast. For those of you that are regulars, we are here every Thursday for a short 30-minute session. This is designed to be information about what's happening in the market, a little bit of tips in terms of a chance to ask questions of John in our Ask John session, a little bit of update about the platform, but primarily we want to hear from people who are actually out there in the market, either as property developers or investors, and it's like bringing you information like from the field, not sitting behind microphones on a computer screen, but people who are actually out there and engaged in property. So that's what we try to achieve in these 30-minute segments. They then go on our YouTube channel. People can refer back to them, different topics. There's loads of educational content, John, that we now have on this YouTube channel.
There is. And how do people find the YouTube channel?
They find it by going to YouTube and typing in Leo Crowdfunding. So we'll from time to time we do have the slide up, but we will you get it also on our social media channels on that. So before we get on to obviously our special guest, we'll hear from in a few minutes. Property market update, an interesting one. You're sort of a tech guy, John. That's kind of your background, but I find this interesting that one of the most important factors now in home buyers deciding on a property is the strength of internet or broadband. So probably speaks for itself, but it is interesting that it's probably post-COVID has become more of an important factor in where people decide to move to.
Well, a couple things. A few years back, quite a few now, this used to be a factor in HMOs in London, that if you had really strong, high-speed, probably gigabit or something a little below that, but a very fast broadband, you could actually charge more per week per tenant. And that was partially because they wanted to watch movies at night. They wanted to maybe work after hours whenever they came home from their job. These are many times people who are working in the city or working in other high tech or sort of high-end industries, and they had large files they had to move around. So you could literally see HMOs on the street where, depending on the network connection, the rents were that much better, which is always quite good for a landlord if you're paying the same price for the property. This is now becoming a problem with COVID and people working from home. And David, you personally have a lot of experience with this, and it has nothing to do with COVID, where you live essentially just about the far edge of where the faster connections are possible. You've had to look at quite a few different solutions to finally get something that would be consistently reliable.
Yes, absolutely. And it was extremely frustrating, a year and a half ago, I suppose even pre-COVID, doing these broadcasts, that the broadband connection was so inconsistent. And we investigated it and discovered we were right at the edge from the exchange. And literally we had to move to a mobile solution with a sort of aerial on top. It's a mobile connection, is actually now our broadband. But yeah, it's vital. It's vital for work. I suppose when you got a family and have two boys, then the requirement for faster internet just becomes more, not just for business, but for recreation.
Well, in your case, it's actually not mobile from what I understand. I think it's a mobile company that provides to you, but I believe you said it's coming off the satellite.
Yeah, maybe a satellite dish. Yeah, on the sort of on the roof. Yeah, so sorry, it's not a mobile in that sense. It's but it's not obviously fiber to the.
No. And that's very much a niche solution, but you're in a basically rural area, or you're just that too far. Funny enough, though, central London, I spent years on a very slow connection, very much zone 1, but we were at the margin of the BT service, and finally we got hyper optic to come in and redo the whole building, so everybody got fiber, and it's like, whoa, where has this been all my life?
Yeah. So there's the takeaway for today. If you have a property with fast broadband, you might be able to get a bit more for it if you're trying to sell. But it's just an interesting factor that's now there in the market. Okay, so our very popular Ask John section. So the question today that has been posed is, how do I find investors with funds to invest? And when I find them, how do I make them want to invest in my deal? So it's a very good second part to that question. And so, yeah, John, how would you answer this?
Well, I might leave the second part to you then. So I'm going to start this based on the way the question's asked, which means I know nothing about the FCA, I know nothing about financial regulations, and I just want to find money. And I think the first fundamental is you have to actually get out there. And these days in the online world, getting out there means getting connected in social media. You have to throw your net fairly wide. You have to let people know who you are. It's all about know, like, trust. It's highly unlikely people will invest in you or invest in your project if they don't like you as the person. So you're going to have to build relationships, and that could take time. And while everybody says if you find a great deal, the money will come, which is actually true in some cases, a lot of times building those investor relationships take longer than finding the deal. So first is your network. Second is building relationships. Third is, well, there's regulations about this. And if you're selling a deal, you're a sourcer, you're an agent, whatever you want to call yourself, there are a set of rules that are very light in the sense of what you have to do. As soon as you ask someone else to put money into your own deal, you're getting closer to a regulated financial promotion. And David can go into all this. Then the other problem is, are you asking them to invest passively, or are you actually looking for a partner that'll bring their expertise, their knowledge? They'll be part of the decision process. They'll be part of the management. Because if they're going to be part of the management, you're sort of joint venturing in a project where you're both doing the work. That is not regulated by the FCA. If you're asking them to be a passive investor, to just sort of be a sleeping investor, to not ask questions, to just give you the money and hope and pray that you get it done, that is a regulated activity, and you need to be super careful. David knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, John. And that's really, I suppose, why property crowdfunding was born, in essence. It's like the FCA has created a sandbox that here are the rules and regulations if you want to do investing from investors into property. So this is the box to do it in. Outside that box, you're into a complete minefield of collective investment schemes, of financial promotions, of different regulations around preference shares, mini bonds, and all these things. And a lot of people just don't realize the significance of what are the regulations. So certainly when you want to try and make them want to invest in your deal, that's understandable. But there are rules that must be followed, regulations that must be followed as you seek to gain investment, as you seek to pitch your particular investment. Yeah, and we'll probably say a bit more about that later on in terms of an opportunity to learn more about that on the last couple of slides. So, okay, John, thank you for that. Okay, so just a very brief update on some of the projects that are ongoing on the platform for some of the investors who are on our weekly broadcast. Church Road funded very quickly last week, as we expected it would. So this was a planning uplift. The fundraiser asked us to try and cap the maximum investment from each investor at £1,000. We had people who wanted to invest more than that, but we had to be very strict on that in the initial period. So yeah, so 24 investors raised the 25k, and the shareholder agreement will be on its way. If it's not already there, it'll probably be there today or tomorrow for people to review and accept. And then we move to drawdown. So John, a nice sort of straightforward planning opportunity from a pretty experienced Bristol-based developer, and yeah, sort of a cookie cutter raise from our point of view.
I do want to separate. I'll be the FCA policeman here. It was a cookie cutter process for the raise. Every person that invests needs to read carefully the document. Planning is never guaranteed. I've invested in a number of planning opportunities with other people. I read the documents. I put in a small amount in this one, so then that way I can spread my risk across multiple planning projects. These can have attractive returns if they're successful, but everybody needs to pay attention that you can lose 100% of what you invested if you don't have success. And as the passive investor, it's not in your hands, it's in the team's hands. So check out the team.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. And then we have been indicating that we're working on a number of projects, preparing them for the platform. Now, these projects are all going through their onboarding, so they're not yet ready to show to the investors. There's obviously due diligence requirements, and the equity offer document has to be financially promotions approved. So this is just like a heads up of projects that we're working on. So we have one up in Surrey, you can see there with a barn conversion. Another one down in Bognor Regis, which is an HMO conversion with some commercial space still there. That's from the Target 5 group. That first one is from Hitesh, the Creation Group. And we're also working on one that will be behind the curtain when it actually launches. But we're just giving investors a heads up, and we will communicate to the investors on the platform about this deal down in Herne Bay. John, I think all of these fundraisers are kind of known to you, or they've been to your meetings or anything like that. So again, it's good to see a flow of projects coming on the platform.
So I do know them. There's one in here, the Herne Bay. This is a new raise, as in the investors new to the platform. They have a bit of a social media network. So therefore, it'll be a good learning experience for them when it comes to raising money. The project details you can read at the site. When it comes to some of the other projects, you have people who are coming back around. They've raised money before. They've paid money out in at least one of the cases. So this is also partly what happens is, I'd say crowdfunding is an expensive way to raise money unless you plan to have run a business or plan to have a lot of deals, because you start to get some benefit of building that audience, building that network, and you can do more deals. And then suddenly crowdfunding is very profitable for the fundraiser because they can get more deals done.
Yeah, and just mentioned the Herne Bay one with Catherine, or JV partner. JV partner is very, very experienced at Parkway Developments. But you mentioned about social media there. So I mean, for fundraisers that do have a social media presence, coming to a crowdfunding platform and having all your social media posts pre-approved before you use them, then keeps you on the right side of compliance. So in this case, the fundraiser has submitted multiple social media posts, right from sort of warming up her audience, saying that something's coming, right through to when it does go live for investment. They've all been submitted to our FCA principal. The first batch have been approved. So now the fundraiser can operate with the comfort, if you like, that what she's putting out there is compliant. And that's an important benefit of property crowdfunding. So let's get on to our guests. I'm going to come off screen now, stop sharing, so we can have our guests up full screen. So yeah, so attendees can have it on a gallery view, and you have all four nice up there. So again, welcome to Aisha and to Latoya. You can come off mute there, and delighted you could join us today. All right, how you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, and again, massive thanks for both of you taking the time. So I think we're going to just have a bit of a conversation around just some aspects. So first of all, we'll go with Aisha first of all. So just brief introduction, what you do, your background, and then we'll start getting into some of the questions about property. So Aisha first, and then over to Latoya for that.
Okay, so I think my day job is I'm a teacher. So obviously I'm not teaching at the minute. That's why I can be here to join you today. But that's my day job. But separate to that, my history sort of in terms of property is that like my mum has HMOs both here and in the Caribbean where we're from. And also I have an undergraduate degree in architecture and a master's in real estate development. So I've got all of the theory, lots of theory, but not so much in terms of the practical kind of experience and knowledge of like property development, which is where LEO crowdfunding comes in place. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
A quick question, what type of teaching do you do?
I'm a DT teacher, so secondary school.
Hey, my daughter's a teacher.
Oh, nice.
She's, I guess, primary school. She's
Okay.
international, so I don't know the translation. But anyway, a little
The other
distraction there.
ones.
Go ahead, Latoya.
So I'm Latoya. I'm based down in Cornwall. I own and run a letting agency down here, and we do specialise in HMOs, but we do single lets and serviced accommodation as well. And I come from a real estate background in New Zealand. So John, you'll be familiar with perhaps that side of things. So in New Zealand, it is very much an American system. It's 100% commission. So that's what I come from. I also bought real estate out there. Mainly my first property, which I bought before 20, really was because I was working in an investment real estate firm. And, you know, at that age, to be taken seriously, I had to buy some property, which is how I got into it, really. And even when I left New Zealand, which was 10 years ago, there was only 5 of us under 30 selling real estate in the city. So yeah, very it prepped me for succeeding in the UK.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll stay with you first of all then. So why invest in property as opposed to maybe other investments? What has it attracted you to property?
Well, I got into selling real estate, and then, as I said, I had to buy property to be taken seriously that young selling real estate. And I guess I just poured so much effort into, I did my real estate license, but I also did my commercial papers, and I'm living it and breathing it. And I put so much energy into it that's just my thing. I don't actually feel comfortable going outside of property. I do watch some people doing interesting stuff, and I watch YouTube videos, but I'm just being nosy. And I even do business networking. I actually run an event in Cornwall and Devon for businesses, but that's just for me. I like to connect people and just nosiness, really. But I won't go outside of property. Got too much into it.
Okay, no, that's interesting. That's your knowledge, that's your expertise, so you're comfortable in that environment. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And yourself, Aisha, then, is there, obviously I know you did a bit of education around property, but is there, in terms of your investment strategy and what you want to like put money into, did you have a thought process of choosing property, or was it just sort of by default?
Kind of by default. I guess like I'm from one of those households where it was you must get a property, you need to get it as soon as possible. If you can get like buy-to-let properties as well, then that's good. So it's very much something that we all do as a family, and it works. So I mean, I can see the benefits of, like, for example, growing up, my mum having HMOs, and how that supported our lifestyle and how we were able to just be free and do more things. Like even now, I've said I'm not working, it's because we have these additional properties that kind of supplement your living. So it's always just been, it's something that's a good thing to do. So yeah, it's something that works, and property values always, over the long term, they increase. And so it's a nice stable way of investing. I mean, I have kind of dipped my toes into other kinds of investing just recently in the last sort of year or two, just like a few like shares here and there, but nothing too major, because that's not something that I know a lot about. Property is kind of where I'm more familiar with.
Okay, no, that's interesting that sort of both of you are kind of, the fact that knowledge level about property is a driver, for the investment. So both of you have invested in deals on the platform. Can I ask what was the main motivation for that? So what was it that said, okay, yeah, I'm going to actually invest in property, but through a property crowdfunding platform? So we can go with yourself, Aisha, first, then we can bounce back over to Latoya again.
So for me, when I saw the emails popped up, I can't remember where they came through, either Propel or BPN or something. I thought, okay, well, I'd heard of crowdfunding for property, and I thought it'd be quite a good way of getting familiar with how it works, what sort of obligations those who were trying to raise the funds had in terms of their investors, because it's something that I would like to do in the future. Like I would, at the moment, I've more been focused on like renovations, but it's just like me myself doing a renovation and then like living in it and moving on, whereas I want to scale up, and so I want to be able to do larger projects, build from the ground up and so on. And so to be able to learn something as I'm investing, that seems like a really good opportunity. So that's why I took the opportunity when it arose. And also, I think actually, John, I think you answered one of my questions on LinkedIn. I had asked about whether if you have a limited company, could you invest through crowdfunding? So the other thing I wanted to do was kind of try and build funds through investing through a limited company as well, and just kind of then have a few more like options, basically. Yeah.
I love it that you're investigating the journey of an investor and what is the process like, and you're sort of being a fly in the wall in a deal by being an active shareholder. And part of that is, you might want to raise money in the future yourself, which is perfect, because I think it's really good when the people raising money understand what it's like to actually invest in someone's deal.
Yeah, for sure.
People will think, Aisha, that I actually give you a script to say there, but we can assure them we definitely didn't, because you might need to get learn, earn, and own, I think, all there in about 2 sentences. So very, very happy with that. Very happy with that. So Latoya, I think your kind of motivation is maybe slightly different. So you want to just sort of explain to sort of what it is or why it is you've just chosen to invest in a couple of deals?
Yeah, so as we've saying before, we've been speaking for a year or so now, and I've been watching Leo Crowdfunding, and I would like to do a raise with yourselves. And on the other side, I wanted to know everything about an investor's experience and what they're going to get out of it, and also to have a little sneak peek at what I can implement to make an investor feel good and what they expect. So that's why I did it, really, probably maybe a bit of a selfish reason, just to learn the other side of it. And yeah, I've done my research. I'm happy now.
Yeah, it's something, John, that you talk a lot about at your event, and when you're asked to be guest speakers at various events. I know you're before COVID, you're all over the country as one of the main speakers, probably on the circuit. But you have spoke to this so many times about fundraisers actually understanding what investors engage in crowdfunding platforms.
I mean, it's natural if you think about it. It's sort of obvious what it's spelled out, but it's not what people who have deals they want funded think of first. So I say to people, for £100, you can buy a share. That means you get a copy of the shareholder agreement. If you want 10 different shareholder agreements, invest in 10 different deals, you probably have very different shareholder agreements. Now you've got great examples for when you want to raise money. You want to know how to communicate with investors. You want to understand what rates of return. You want to know what questions investors ask. It's so much fun to be on that side and learn like all about it before you have to sort of release your deal onto the audience. And it's really smart that both of our guests today are doing that, because it's just good. You come to the party prepared. You come to the raise knowing what you think you should do because you've seen what worked for the other people. It's like follow and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and I should actually point out as part of Latoya, your preparation for a potential raise. And I mean, it's not you don't have a deal right now ready to come, but you're preparing yourself for the future. You've obviously invested in the deal to see the journey, but you're also currently preparing a case study on a previous project that you did, so that we'll be able to put that on the platform. People who maybe have watched this can then go on and have a look at your case study and get a better idea for what you've done. So I know you're looking forward to getting that prepared and get it on the platform.
Yeah, I am very much so. I think it's very close. So
yeah, well, yeah, we're getting there, so it'll be very soon. So okay, so in terms of then so like final 2 questions, but the first one, how did you find the investment journey? And I'm speaking to the actual registering on the platform, and then how the deals were presented through to actually making your investment. So you want to just speak to that just briefly, briefly. So Latoya, you want to go first on that, and then we go back over to Aisha.
Yeah, so I mean, I say I found it easy, but it was also quite thorough as well. And I also had a couple of your team members contacting me. In particular, I've had Tony pretty much by my side to ask questions to and to guide me. So yeah, it was thorough, but it was easy. I felt safe and I felt like I could ask questions if I needed to. So that was quite good. Somebody nearby.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And Aisha, in terms of the actual maybe the appropriateness test and things like that, how did you find that going through it?
Yeah, it was simple. It was easy enough to do, quick enough to do. I think, yeah, it was very, very easy to kind of follow the process and get ready to then be able to invest.
Okay. And interestingly, I just remembered you were actually on a site visit, I think, with Tony and Dal to what about Bristol from memory?
Yeah.
So the fact the Church Road. But did you visit Church Road? I think you did visit Church Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
I can't remember what other ones on the visit, but you invested in or not.
The Avon Valley and
okay.
the Church Road. Yeah. It was really interesting, actually.
How do you find the site visit in terms of as an investor actually getting on site, meeting the developers, seeing the building, that you've invested in or the project you invested in? How did you find it useful and beneficial?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely beneficial, and like ideally, in an ideal world, I know obviously COVID kind of threw everything kind of out of the window. It would be nice to do that along the way as well as at the end. But it's kind of good because sometimes when you're on the webinars, you don't really know what questions to ask specifically, but when you go there in person, you might be like, okay, how does that work? How does that work? You can kind of see it and kind of create a conversation around it. And so I feel like I learned quite a lot more while I was down there on site, as opposed to just sitting on a webinar. So that was great. Also, what was really good about it is that people come across differently on a webinar as they do in person. And so it was really nice again to be able to meet the company, the people involved, and just have a conversation. And you really see their passion just shining through. So like they know their stuff, they know what they're talking about. The passion comes across and you're like, yeah, I can invest with you again. And so that was really nice as well. So yeah, very, very invaluable experience for sure.
Okay, fantastic.
I like to say this is almost like a dating experience. And if you one day want to have grandkids, you need to have kids, and then you probably need a partner, and you probably need someone you like. So it's this progressive process. And the more you can start out with rather something simple like hello, and then have a chat, and then maybe do a small investment, and this whole sort of engagement process. And crowdfunding allows you to do it as an investor across multiple different people. You can learn about different things. How do they communicate? How do they report? What types of deals? You might say, look, I invested in that. I'm never going to do that again because I don't like the ups and downs of the emotion of that. It came out fine, but I'd rather stick to this. So you learn about different strategies. And the FCA loves it in the sense that they want retail investors to be able to take part in a very controlled way and to learn and grow. They want the education part to kick in. So the more that people engage, the more that people sort of experience things, the better they get at this, and they can decide it's not for me or it is for me, and then move forward. Well done.
So John always enjoys sort of pulling me up on slight slip of the tongues. So I'll enjoy sort of the batting it back over to him. I think you said, John, that as part of your analogy, which is a brilliant analogy in terms of dating, relationship, kids, grandkids. So I think you said, have kids, you'll probably need a partner. I would say if you're going to have kids, you definitely need a partner.
Well, so women have more optionality than guys do in that one. Guys do need a partner. Women might be able to find a way to get it done on their own.
Answered by a tech guy. So listen, absolutely fantastic. Any like last minute 30-second wrap-ups? I'll give you 30 seconds each that you want to comment, observations, points, anything you want to make.
No,
I have a question for the two of you.
Okay.
To bias what David just asked. Tell us what you want to see done better. As an investor, what would you like more of, or what would you like done better?
For me in the investing world, I would like for I don't think people going out and just buying property, you know, because somebody on the internet said to do it. I don't think that's for everyone. I think this kind of investing is perfect for some people. Some people are great at doing development. Some people are great at HMOs. Some people are great at buy-to-lets, but I don't think it's for everyone. And I think that I would like to tell more people about this type of investing on this, you know, crowdfunding platform, because I think it's perfect for some investors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That's good. I like it.
For me, I would just say that maybe more information. So like from my point of view, obviously I'm looking to maybe do this in the future. So just like there's nice overviews, but I'd like to get into the detail a little bit more. And I quite liked what you said. One of the things I would have said would have been an improvement was like to cap certain investors, because if someone comes in and they have a lot more capital than somebody else does, and you can't then get into that deal to then be able to actually learn something like the one that just went. I think you gave a very generous 4 hours. I think I logged on at 4 minutes past and it was already all done. And so I just couldn't get in. And so for me, like that would have been a new learning experience for me to be able to go through that planning sort of section of things. And so, yeah, just I like the fact that you did actually cap it. I was just too slow. So, yeah.
You did fine. I know behind the scenes, because I was watching like you were, and they actually ended up backing out some investments to open it up so that more investors, because I think it actually closed with 7 investors or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's like
3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. So, but some people put on more than 1,000, so we had to contact them and say, look, the maximum's 1,000. So they were okay with that. They understood the rationale behind it. So yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate that. That's been really good, and there's going to be some really good things that we can even get on social media, some of the snippets of some of the things that you've commented on. So fantastic. So just to wrap up, with only a couple of slides and we're done for today, and then I'll let Aisha and Latoya say a sort of goodbye at the end. So John, answering the question, your Ask John question this week, there's an obvious synergy to remind people about the special fundraiser live bootcamp that we're doing on the 7th and 9th of December. This is 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. over 3 days. It's going to be packed with information. There'll be some people who are big guests on it. I don't want to say intense, but it's going to be a lot of information covered and really relevant to anyone who's thinking about raising funds on a crowdfunding platform or just preparing themselves better to go for even senior debt lending. So what are people going to benefit, John, from this 3-day bootcamp we're running?
For those that actually have a deal in the pipeline or they're starting to put it together, we literally can take people through the whole process so that they're either close to having their raised documents ready, or they maybe have finished the first draft. Plus the things around the edge. It's more than just having a document. There's a bunch of steps before and after. So it's literally, what is that journey? What is that transformation, the arc that, you come in like, I need to raise money. Okay, now I know how to raise money. You will not be raising money in the room. That's not the point. But this is a live workshop where you'll be getting all of your stuff sorted. If you want to do a case study for people that don't have a deal, but they're actually trying to get their case study done so they can start building that audience, that know, like, trust process. So we are definitely taking people on that journey from you're not sure how it's done to now doors are open, let's go.
Mm-hmm. So we're covering things like, analyzing the deal, structuring the deal, compliance, preparing your offer document, right through then to investor psychology. What is it investors are looking for? Is into some of the comments that Aisha mentioned on our site visit and things like that. So again, we can explain real time to potential fundraisers, feedback from investors like Aisha and how important it is to actually meet developers on site where that's possible and how powerful that can be in building relationships. So it's really just unpacking all the aspects of raising funds and of course doing that legally, which is obviously very important in the current environment. So the super early bird ticket is now gone. It was great to see those who grabbed their ticket early and have got their front row seats for our live event online. So the current early bird ticket at 197 will be available until the 26th of November. So you can see the link there. So you can screen grab that, take a snip of it, but that will let you go in and book your seat at the early bird price. There'll be a full landing page with a lot more detail on the event, a bit about the running order and the content. Will probably be live the next sort of 24, 48 hours. And there'll be various social media posts. I'll be doing some live social media today. So if you happen to be around and can jump in, do that, and we can interact on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So that is the plan. Any further comments, John, you want to make on the bootcamp?
Definitely come reach out to us if you have any questions. A number of people have already done that and booked in, so happy to fill in the gaps if there are any. One of the things sometimes I'm weak at, I have all this stuff on my head about what's happening and I forget to sort of put it down on a landing page. Like, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So just we've obviously done a lot of talking today about investment, things like that. We of course do not give any financial advice. That's not what the purpose of this webinar is. It's about just hearing from different people, and of course investing in equity into deals. It does have risk. Capital is obviously not secured, and there's no guarantee of a return. So I always like just to put that caveat in for any new people who are on the webinar this morning. So give a quick sort of final 30 seconds to Aisha and to Latoya. I'll go with Aisha first. Any sort of goodbyes or anything you want to say as you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today. It's been a pleasure to have a chat with you and talk about my investment journey.
Yeah, fantastic. And Latoya?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. And yeah, I'll be down in Cornwall. If anyone's popping down, let me know. I'll say hi.
There you go.
Fantastic. And listen, from me as the host, and I'm sure if it John, a massive thank you to you two. You've been absolutely fantastic. Really good insights. You've been upfront and honest with us, and it's been really beneficial. So really thank you for taking the time. And I've no doubt we'll get some excellent feedback from people on this. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of Thursday and Friday and on into the weekend. And for our regular attendees, we'll see you again next Thursday. All the best. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.